No, I'm just kidding.
No. Okay, that's the intro. The most underwhelming Game of Thrones intro ever.
That
I'm
is
sorry.
true. Our last one was better.
We should probably introduce ourselves, right?
Yes. I'm Jordan.
I'm Dylan.
I'm RJ Anthony of House Targaryen, first of his name. The
like
rightful king of the Andals, the Rhoynar, the first men, the protector of the realm, the Khal of the Great Grass Sea,
Keep it going.
the king of Marine, the Unburnt, the breaker of chains, and the father of dragons.
He also gets shot right in the head with an arrow season 1, so that's why you don't know him.
How dare you?
It's a lot of titles for someone who dies in season 1.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. That's how unimportant you were.
Just,
That doesn't make any sense.
I saw one of those analogies for Von Miller. It was like the breaker of offensive lines, the pressure enforcer of the backfield, the king leader of sacks.
Originally, I was trying to come up. I was like, I want to do a bunch of titles.
Right,
should I go with just Daenerys's, or should I come up with the editor of footage?
No, I like what you did. You were on something, but yeah, you could have gone that route.
I just didn't care enough. I've been busy all day.
I know today's been a fun day. For a Monday, a day after the season finale of Game of Thrones.
This would actually be probably the quickest turnaround of something we've talked about in terms of how recent
it just happened. So it's still fresh. We're 24 hours in.
Let's go over how you guys feeling after the finale. I guess we should also say 100% spoilers. Yeah, so if you haven't watched it, stop watching.
Turn this off now.
Go watch the season.
Seriously, just pull your head out of your ass.
Actually, really, you know what? At this point, I don't feel bad for spoiling anything.
Jon Snow died.
Especially if you're watching this still at this point.
He did die.
But if you really care about Game of Thrones, you would have seen it by now.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. Wholeheartedly. And by the time this episode comes out, you've had some good time. You've had 48 hours.
You've had we're filming right now to watch
what has happened.
Yeah, you should still
figure out what's going on with the Seven Kingdoms.
So overall impressions of the season. What do you guys think?
I feel
very strong season.
Interesting.
I feel like it's kind of a letdown.
Get back to that in a second.
I feel like it's a letdown compared to what I thought. That being said,
I have some comments.
Yeah, that being said, I do think we got really amazing scenes. We had the best scenes so far. But overall, I guess what I thought going in, what was gonna be resolved and happen in this, I still feel like this season felt like a setup.
I agree, and that's exactly where I fall. I think
I would.
Maybe it's partially because I expected so much from this season, but I'm almost a little underwhelmed by it. I think season 6 set the bar so high that that
finale for season 6.
I think this is the first time that a season hasn't topped the previous season. In my opinion, I agree. Especially for me, the dragon cooking a bunch of people in episode 4, I believe, is, or maybe it's 3.
Best scene.
Either way, it's the best scene we've probably had in the entire
when they first
series.
Invade the army,
and when she's cooking all the Lannisters.
Yes.
But for the most part, it didn't feel like a complete season to me.
It was shorter.
And I think...
No, I'm just kidding.
I think, because he and I were talking very briefly last night about it, to try to keep most of the conversation here.
Yeah.
What I said the other night was Breaking Bad had it where they split their last season into 2 seasons, basically. Right. And I feel like that's what this has done. Is I'm not looking them as season 7 and 8. It's all one season that just happens to unfortunately be broken apart by a year. Because I think looking at it that way makes it a good 15 episode season as opposed to 2.
I think that's a good way.
It's not even 15 episodes, I guess.
The only thing is we just gotta wait another year to get part 2.
Well, not even. I read a GQ article today that said maybe spring of 2019. Potentially,
what?
Yeah.
I want to kill myself.
Yeah, it's just so long.
They better do 2-hour episodes then.
See, with that, I don't think they're going to hit 2-hour episodes.
They're not going to.
I think they're going to do around this time frame for the finale, around an hour, 20 minutes to an hour and a half per episode. Hopefully, but that's still
feel like there's so much
to
go on, and they're having 7 episodes? 6.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's so much in 6 episodes.
There's a lot to wrap up. Last night they kind of they got some of their characters' storylines wrapped up. They still have some that are just extremely open. They're pursuing
Well,
more.
Well, shall we kind of go through a episode by episode basis, sort of, and kind of discuss them?
I think that's a good.
So
way
we
to
have
go about
episode
it.
1,
I'm glad we
Dragonstone.
have that
Daenerys finally gets to Westeros.
Mhm.
Actually, well, really, another one of the great scenes of this series. The cold open, no credits or anything. It's just straight into Arya murdering House Frey, just wiping them out.
That was probably one of the best season openers, you could argue.
Oh,
because it just dives right in, and then Arya is such a strong character.
Dude,
this
she's a
season.
badass.
She probably. I would
Actually,
say
she kind of annoyed me this season, but
Really?
we'll get to that later.
I would say she carried this season. Like she did more than this season for her character's arc. I would argue more other characters didn't do.
Like, she's done a lot more than Sansa's ever done.
Well, they're polar opposites. Yeah.
I mean, I would agree that she's done more than
It's
Sansa,
a
but
joke.
that means
Just
nothing.
because I was reading all the memes that how it shows all the Starks and how like badass they like are, and then it's like, and Sansa, still just
She's
Sansa.
still catching up.
I mean, yeah. So, in my opinion, there's only kind of 2 cool things that Arya did this season, and this is the coolest one.
Finally
we'll
killed
talk
the
about it
annoying
more.
little
All the
shit
Frey,
called
yeah.
Littlefinger.
Well,
we get
jumping ahead to the finale. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
man.
the second
We're
one.
going
so.
episode by episode.
Sorry, I'm
man.
just so
Come
excited
on.
that he's
Spoiler alert.
I'm trying to remember what
Spoiler
else there
alert for
is.
the later viewers.
For the viewers in 15 minutes.
Okay, let's see. We have Grey Worm and Missandei making love in the first episode. You guys probably didn't remember that.
How does
How does he
that
do it?
happen?
I imagine a lot of fingers and tongues.
I think there was
Well, because there's really the whole discussion. I don't think we know with certainty whether or not he actually has a shaft or not.
right.
Even though without a balls,
Based off the way
can you
Braun
still-
was talking about it, I don't think that they have anything. But
Yeah.
So he
They
gets
were
no pleasure whatsoever.
Well,
you're saying that you can't get pleasure without a penis?
I mean,
That's what I just heard.
Not sexually as a dude. I
Well,
mean,
Our
it's a little
lesbian
hard.
viewers are angry.
yeah, man. You can get
No,
pleasure and
fair.
then you
And our
receive
eunuch
pleasure in doing so.
viewers are angry. I
How
don't know.
dare you?
No, I'm
How
just
dare you make
wondering.
that assumption?
I'm sorry. I'm just wondering. I don't
Yeah.
know how that works.
You take it up with Grey Worm.
I mean, he seems to be doing pretty fine with
I think
whatever he's got
enjoyed
down there.
whatever he got himself into.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I'm not riding on it. Good for
I
him.
saw one of those memes that was like kind of just the anatomically correct thing of what he had. It was just like one of
Was
those
it the
Barbie
Ken
dolls.
doll?
Yeah, the Ken doll. it was like
Shit.
he still got his though. Good for him.
Yeah.
Let's see what else.
That was
Arya
in one?
ran back into Hot Pie again.
Mhm.
Kind of a pointless thing, other than just to, I think, allude to Gendry's reintroduction later, because the 3 of them travel together.
True.
But it was still kind of cool to see someone else that we haven't seen in a while.
Even though she treated him like complete garbage. Wasn't she kind of just an ass to him the whole time?
Honestly, I don't remember.
Oh, so
Shows you how much I didn't even remember that part. Honestly.
I didn't until you said it.
And then Sam discovers that Dragonstone is sitting on a mountain of dragonglass, and Jon goes
To find
out there. Oh yeah, and then we end with Euron's fleet attacking and killing 2 of the Sand Snakes, and then capturing one of them, Elaria and Yara. I think. Well, and then Theon running away.
Right. That was an
Again.
interesting choice.
I think, because I've thought it through a couple times, and I think in a way that was almost the only move he could make. Yes, it is a coward's move. Yes, especially the Ironborn are gonna look down on him because of it. But he's really not gonna be able to save her by charging at
But
Euron.
he almost preserves her without doing anything and running away.
Because there's a better chance of, if he had tried to run, Euron kills Yara instead.
Yeah, and then possibly kills him too. So in doing so, he saves himself. Obviously, the coward play out, but then in doing so, he kind of almost like preserves her life in the time being, because now she's leveraged for Euron over Theon. And he even brings up, we'll get on that later, but he even brings that up when there's this big huge meeting, and he brings up his side little petty stuff over here.
Well, I think it's kind of funny because I don't think I ever imagined Theon being part of the group that I'm rooting for. meaning like how he's with like Daenerys and Jon, and like those are the people I've been rooting for all along. And like when I'm fantasy time, so I'm using those terms. When I'm picking my draft for people, I would have never thought that he would have been on that team.
I don't think.
Well, I don't think he would have picked that.
Yeah.
Either. Like that's kind of just how it's all.
Because it almost has. I don't know whether your guys' feelings or not, but it almost is like they're kind of trying to make you feel sorry for him and kind of show growth, because they kind of put a character you really started to dislike and then kind of felt sorry for, but still didn't like, and then now he's with a group of people that you like and you're rooting for, and then so I think like. I'm not. It's growing on me a little bit where I'm like, oh, I hope he gets his sister like Gothia, and like he's finally getting growth.
Yeah,
and he's
through
this and
association.
this.
I think that's the funny thing
exactly.
with Game of Thrones is that so many characters go through these arcs of you hating them. Like you think about Jaime Lannister in the first one.
Sure.
He's like one of the most hated people. Like, oh, he pushed a kid out of a window, and he's humping his sister, and then now you're like.
I'm
not
kind of
sure
rooting for him. I'm
like again to skip a little bit ahead, he's charging towards a dragon with a lance, and you're kind of like, I don't want him to win, but I also don't want him to die. Like,
yeah.
And somehow he's like the sane Lannister, but
it's true. So, and I think they have done a good job in that aspect of taking a few characters.
No, that's a great point.
And turning them, just like you said, like Jaime is gonna be in the next one to say.
Oh, okay. I accidentally
Turner.
skipped part of it. Sorry, that was not in episode 1. That's episode 2. When I turned it sideways, it bumped out, but I didn't.
That's okay. We're covering the season.
I did think it was a little quick for that to be.
I was about to say that all happened in episode.
All right, so we're talking about 1 and 2 at the same time right now.
We're covering the season, just FYI. We'll get through all of the major plot points.
So yeah, Jon goes down there.
Ned dies.
Oh.
I know, I did it.
Oh, we see the Hound and the Brotherhood Without Banners going to that that house where he sees the people that we saw maybe like season 3 or 4. I don't remember exactly when, but the Hound is basically responsible for them dying because he stole their money from them. But we see a very different side of the Hound too, with him actually being remorseful and going out and digging the grave and putting their bodies.
I actually loved. I mean, I always was a huge fan of the Hound. I just loved his character.
Yeah, me too.
But I really like the transformation you've seen over the series, and I mean, we thought he was dead for a while, but of how you can almost kind of see a heart growing in him a little bit, you know? Because I feel like when we first meet him...
There's instances of
that, he's like a heartless, just asshole that doesn't care about anyone, and now he's like... He's slowly been like caring, and now he's still that same hard shell, but I feel like he is more caring and aware of other people's stuff in a bigger picture, and it's not just about himself. And I think they've done like really cool things with his character and help him like transform and change. And
even what he saw with the Lord of the Light.
Exactly. And so I thought just this season in general, I thought was a really good. He was one of my favorite parts of this season. Is his character, and I think he brought a lot of really good comical relief and some good stuff. Like for me, it was one of the bigger ones.
Even in the finale with Brienne, that was priceless how they interacted.
Well, again, like the Hound is one of those, another one that you kind of hate him at first, and you like him.
That's true.
Like, and there's so many different. Again, not to skip ahead too much, but you get that 6th episode, or I guess it's the end of the 5th, when you have all these characters who have like all this history with each other, and some of it's not good, and it's like you gotta get through that dynamic.
And I definitely think that's just, it's all a sign of things coming together, which was cool. But
So let's see. To quickly go through the end of 1 that I actually skipped, Jorah is revealed to be in Old Town, and
I forgot that was this season.
Arya meets Ed Sheeran.
Oh, briefly, yeah. Ed Sheeran had a cameo in
people were hating on that. I thought it was pretty good.
I loved it. And maybe it's because I'm not like a huge... not to say that I don't like his music, but I don't listen to his music very much. Okay. So it didn't take me out of the reality of it to see him in there. To me, it made sense because like he's this Lannister soldier who doesn't really want to fight. He just wants to sing. Yeah. And like to me, it made sense to get a person who can actually sing to do it.
He's not the first musical. What is it?
The guy from Coldplay.
Coldplay was there.
Oh really?
Yeah, the drummer for Coldplay. I think it was.
He's in the Red Wedding.
In the Red Wedding, he's one of the people.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So they've done stuff like that before. I just think Ed Sheeran was more noticeable.
Well, because he was very in your face as opposed to those guys who are in the background.
That's another interesting part about that scene in particular with Ed Sheeran is like you kind of have this great throwaway line from Arya where she's like, "Oh, I'm headed there to kill the queen," and everybody's like, "Ah, this little girl, she's here to do what?"
Yeah, so
she's
but
yes,
she's
I
dead
was
serious,
kidding.
Like, I'm like here to.
Well, it was actually pretty funny, the Ed Sheeran part. I hear this thing is like, I really like that song, and I'm trying to look it up, so like I pull out like my sound hound and I click it and wait, and then like it kind of like you finally
They wrote the song for the thing, and never would've popped up.
I didn't. Yeah,
Just
I
probably,
did.
like,
This was when it
unable to
first came out, so I
identify.
was just trying to figure out, and then I saw it was Ed Sheeran, and I was like, what? Ed Sheeran's in it, and then so I looked at the song and what he did for it and stuff, and it was just cool, but it was just because I really do listen to Ed Sheeran and like him a lot, and so the song, I think I like instinctively knew it was like his voice, but I hadn't like put two and two together until like I saw it.
Until you watched.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. But I thought it was cool.
So now, as we've already started to bleed into episode 2, Stormborn, so they've come up with like their battle plan. They're all gonna assault King's Landing without using the Dothraki, without using the dragons, to try to keep it a little bit more like civil almost.
Right,
so they don't see her as like as much of an invader. Mm-hmm. But by Euron attacking and killing all those people and capturing them, she loses the Dornish support essentially and the Greyjoy support that she had. So it's like suddenly her, and this was one of my biggest issues with the episode as a whole. It was kind of like, oh, she's obviously gonna win. We got to come up with some way to make Cersei like formidable against her.
Right.
And
which I still feel, even taking away her supports, Cersei still doesn't have a chance.
Even
well,
with her
because of the
supports, I would
dragons.
argue
Yeah.
she doesn't.
But
stand a
even,
chance.
well, not to jump ahead, but just the Dothraki too. I feel like they're a bigger advantage than I think I thought until I saw them really in action this
I mean,
season.
they were already laying it on them pretty thick until, prior to the dragon coming in.
Yeah.
That was a later episode.
Yeah,
So
that
we'll
was
touch on.
4.
Yeah. But, yeah.
At the end, the only other thing I think that we should quickly touch on very briefly for 2 is that Sam treats Jorah's grayscale.
Yeah.
Yes. Interesting.
Which kind of felt maybe a little bit like a cop-out, but partially that's because he doesn't have grayscale in the book. It's a different character that's not in this at all.
Oh, wow.
So I think part of it was kind of like, oh crap, like we got to make sure he stays alive, so we kind of have to come up with a way to
Let's just
cure
set him
it.
off to the side for a little bit with the thing that he has to deal with.
I actually
and bring
thought
back
it was
into
kind
the
of
fray.
cool how they did it. I mean, it was an intense scene.
Oh,
when-
it was very
It
disgusting.
was very, because they were, in that episode, they were cross-cutting between, like, him's, like,
pus getting, like,
and then, like, literally you go
like
from
a
that to a guy
pie.
eating a pie. And
Yeah.
it was all,
Yeah.
mashed together, and I was like, ooh.
I think the one thing about that scene, though, that I loved, and it kind of reminded me, this is going to sound dumb, but from Overwatch May, how we always joke how she's, like, this, like, funny, cute-looking girl, and her voice lines are so cynical. And I feel like Sam was like that, too. He's like, I'm here to help. And then, like, he would scream, he's like, you can't scream, shut up. And then he's, like, digging in, and he's like, stop doing that. Like, you can't make noise. And you're like, you're literally, like, ripping this dude's just, like, flesh.
I wouldn't be
cutting
able
it.
not to scream, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah. And he's like,
Plus,
you
that
can't do
whole
that.
thing was kind of done under, it had to be private. It
Oh,
had to be
definitely.
no noise because, it wasn't advised with
Yep.
the other guys, so.
So going into episode 3, The Queen's Justice, Jon arrives at Dragonstone. Dany wants him to bend the knee, and so they kind of have a little back and forth for the first time. And I think that was a lot of people were kind of very happy with that episode for finally bringing them together.
Yes.
Because I think it's a lot of people's kind of, maybe not necessarily 2 favorites, but 2 of these like powerhouses that they still enjoy watching. That it's like they're coming together.
Yeah.
And you kind of know that they're probably gonna.
Yeah.
Do something.
The whole thing was kind of leading up to like, when are these 2 guys gonna?
That's exactly how I
Do
think
something.
when I'm thinking of my aunt.
I know, right?
So
Well, that's the problem. He doesn't
Spoiler
know.
alert, we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
Oh,
neither
shut
does
up.
he. He doesn't know.
well, they both still don't know.
He still thinks he's Ned Stark's son.
I feel like there wasn't a ton. This was one of the slower ones to me. Other things that we get in this was Cersei poisoning the remaining Sand Snake and then having both her and her mother tied up there, and she has to watch her die in front of her.
Yeah, that was
Like,
I love how they never went back to them.
Yep.
Well,
well,
one
it
of
is
them's
it
gonna
is
die.
a good question of like, okay, just because you took out the leaders of Dorne, like that doesn't mean that they don't necessarily still support Daenerys or House Targaryen, but it's right now so what is happening in Dorne? I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if I care to see because they were really boring episodes before when we had.
I think
right.
my
What did
thing
they add
is
in the Great War,
So here was
they're
like,
the farthest away too.
Yeah.
Here was my biggest thing with this season is I feel like this season covers a large amount of time and they just skip a lot. Because she's in the prison, but look, John's traveling all over the place, and it's not like he's getting there.
Plot hole of this
Exactly.
season is how they're able.
So,
to...
and that's what I'm saying.
But
like,
I don't know that it's even necessarily a plot hole. Like you got to remember that these things are not running at exactly the same time all the time.
Aired, right?
And so, what would you rather it spend 7 episodes of John going from the north to Dragonstone?
No. But what I'm saying is that like that girl was left in that dungeon at that point. But then John traveled around. We're months out. She's probably dead. So then
who
no,
cares?
but I'm saying they're not giving any resolution to the character that part of the story.
Though. That's
they're
the resolution.
Dead.
Like
it's
them closing out.
And
that
it wouldn't surprise
section
me
of the...
if in episode or season 8 we do see Ilaria Sand again because she's just gonna stay down there until she dies.
Yeah, but she's deteriorating.
And they're gonna keep her alive though until she dies basically of old age.
Oh yeah.
So we might see her again, but I don't know that we. I would argue that they did complete that part of the storyline right there.
Because she's not going to add anything more moving forward, I think, at this point.
The only better resolution would be her dying, just to tie it off.
And that's, I guess, just more.
But Cersei's not going to let her die anytime soon. So
yeah, true.
Oh yes, I forget. So then. The Unsullied attack Casterly Rock. So it's kind of the first time we see the Lannister home, and you're kind of like surprised because they take it super easily. Because at this point you're still thinking that Tyrion's got like everything under wraps. He's got this all figured out, and then you learn that Jaime has taken all of them and takes over Highgarden and kills the Queen of Thorns. Which I think even in death she managed to somehow win the battle, even though she lost the war.
Yeah, she may have had one of the most intense deaths ever. Not in his her dying was intense, but just the scene itself.
Oh yeah,
how it went about. She's like, "You're killing me, but
I'm still sticking to what
I'm winning."
She basically died in a way that she'd be falling backwards, but be flipping you off as she did.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I thought that was a good. I mean, at that point, I love. Jaime just knows. He's like, there's nothing I can do. And
well, that's the thing. Even when they're meeting, it's like we all know what's gonna happen here. So how does that unfold?
I also think this is you start seeing, I guess, more of the different kind of Jaime too. Because even afterwards, when he tells Cersei, he's like, it doesn't matter, she died. And Cersei was like, I know we should have punched her. And he's like, she's dead. It doesn't matter.
And so is the rest of her house.
Yeah, and you see Jaime start to get, I think. At least here, a better handle on things. Just because I feel like he's not that person that's just backing whatever his sister says. I feel like, starting at that point and on, you can tell that he's questioning his sister more and more. Yeah. And so I think that's the start of his stuff on this season.
I thought his arc was pretty surprising this season because I anticipated... my initial theory was that he would be the one to potentially kill Cersei.
Well, it still could happen, especially after the last events.
But having said that, when he's chasing that dragon and trying to kill Daenerys, is it almost seemed that throughout the season, his loyalty to Cersei was even more so after all their kids have died.
That was my biggest problem with.
I thought he would
with Jaime's story arc.
Yeah, I thought he was.
They seemed to set it up at the end of season 6 that he's giving her this disgusted look at what she's done, and then we cut in here and season 1 they're making out again.
Yeah.
You're wait, what happened?
And then lo and behold, skip forward, Cersei's pregnant again. I thought Jaime would have been more of a what are you doing? We need to figure out how we're gonna move forward.
And I think
instead
he's
it's blind loyalty and just trusting whatever decision making Cersei's making, and he's more of a background character only in the scheme of the Great War. He's not questioning Cersei. He's following every
until
order
finally later.
Right, but that's just towards the end of the season. But I thought, given everything that's happened between him and her and the loss of all their kids, that he would have started maybe taking a different initiative in how he treats her. And
I think it also comes down to
it's kind of
I
unexpected.
think he like tries in his own way, and I think he just starts realizing that nothing is going to get through to her. And that's kind of what I got to the point.
Well, even more so towards the end.
Towards the end, but even in the beginning a little bit, he tried to talk sense into her, and then she just wouldn't listen. And then he kind of went to the okay, I'm just gonna do what you want kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then as he grows, you can tell like I feel it. It's to the point where he doesn't do anything not because he doesn't agree with it. It's just because he knows he can't at this point. He just knows like Cersei's mind is made up.
I know he can't do anything, but at the same, I don't know.
Yeah, but I feel like
and
I feel like that's exactly kind of how I got his character.
He's the brother to the queen. No one really knows. I mean, there's all this, but no one really knows like how deep their relationship goes.
Well, and even with his personal thoughts on her right now. I mean, especially at the end of the season, I don't know if they're exactly in the best of places, or really for most of this season. I feel like he's
walking on eggshells.
Yeah, I feel like it's like his conscience is telling him you need to pull away from her, but like his heart is like, no, I need to do this, I need to do this. So he's like fighting this battle. Yeah,
and his penis.
And so he's like fighting this battle because I mean, it even comes to the point where when he meets up with Tyrion and stuff, he's more understanding towards all of that.
Towards Tyrion, like hey, we might not be able to kind of, be rational with her, but we gotta do.
I mean, and there are several times where he pretty much says like.
I mean, even in the finale, he tells Tyrion, from one idiot to another, like, that's in reference to kind of how this Cersei's handling everything. And I'm sure we'll touch on this later, but kind of how even she handled everything with the finale is like, where's she? What's she really planning next? Because she's saying one thing and then saying the exact opposite to another character later.
I don't think Cersei knows what the fuck.
No,
she's doing.
I don't know, but she's up to something though.
Anything else in
the only other thing in 3 would be Arya seeing Nymeria. It kind of felt like almost a pointless reunion to me, like other than to serve as a potential speed bump in her route back to Winterfell, where it's kind of like this idea of, well,
I'm going back to my roots.
Is me going back to Winterfell what I should be doing, or is this like I don't know. And they wasted budget on that. They could have just had more dragons.
Right.
So let's see. Episode 4, which I would argue is the best episode of the season.
Almost. It's top 3 of all series, I would say, in my opinion.
We'll go back to
probably up there somewhere.
Yeah.
We have Arya returning to Winterfell, and we get the sparring scene between her and Brienne, which was pretty cool.
That was
because I feel like we've seen her do some stuff, but it's always it seems like she gets lucky in most of them, right? Like she gets the waif stabs her and everything, but she's able to get to like the darkness and kill her.
Yeah.
Or she's able to like surprise somebody. In this case, it's like it's a one-on-one battle, and she's holding her own against Brienne, who beats Sir Loras Tyrell.
Yeah, and the Hound, and just like very accomplished.
I love
swordsman.
Brienne's kind of face when they like after she was like sincerely annoyed and pissed at Arya.
Like who? One of my favorite parts was like, who taught you that? And she was like, no one. That was so bad.
Brienne was annoyed.
No, I'm just saying like her reaction towards Arya beating her. Like in the sword fight.
Yeah,
I didn't get it as annoyed. I got it more as like a shock and awe kind of.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess that's what I mean. I guess that's what I mean by.
That's very different than annoyed.
No, because I'm trying to remember when they were battling. Like at first,
she was shocked.
Like, yeah, I think shocked
like,
is
how
better.
Is this little
yeah,
girl?
And that's what I'm trying to. Yeah.
Yeah, but then that's where that line comes, and I was like, she was like, no one taught me this. I'm just.
I saw a funny thing where it was someone quoted that, and then it's a picture of Syrio Farrell. It's like, well, thanks.
There you go, right? She should have.
I'm glad I died for you.
Yeah. But yeah, and I definitely think like it is, and I think like me and you talked about this back when it was happening or a long time ago. Is with Arya like her going off, and it's like her storyline has such potential, but at that point like we when we were talking about it, she was going to the Faceless Assassins, and then like when she was there, we're like, okay, like she's not really doing anything. I think we've all been waiting, like, okay, she's becoming a badass, and
See,
now
that's where I feel like she owned this season.
Exactly.
Like she really came into her own.
So
exactly.
I actually forgot about this when I said she only did 2 cool things. I forgot about this scene, but I feel like the payoff for the Faceless Men really came back with the Walder Frey.
Oh,
thing.
for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And here, this is where I feel like she starts getting annoying because they start, and part of this is the writer's fault, is they start trying to engineer this drama between Sansa and Arya of,
right.
oh, like,
That's
Arya's so cold.
Littlefinger
and, like,
too, though.
But you actually find out. I think they kind of resolve it a little bit because in the end you find out that they're just playing Littlefinger.
But the thing is, I don't
But
think
they don't
they
do that
were
initially.
playing
Yeah,
him.
I'd argue
I think most until the finale, they aren't playing him. I think they are legitimately being played by him.
Oh, really?
And then they realize, and then the audience is left out of the loop. And then
because some of the things that Arya says are like very with Littlefinger not around.
That's
are very
true.
weird for her to say if they're trying to play this
well,
up. Like,
and I think going back to the
she
writing,
talks about killing her and taking her face.
Yeah,
like, why would you say
I
that?
could be the Lady of Winterfell,
Well,
so what power does that
and I think like that goes
you know?
to writing too. Like, is that in a writing sense? Like you're trying to get the audience to believe one thing, and so you do that, but then like it doesn't make sense.
That goes to manufactured drama. That it's like you're just trying to create drama that's not actually there. Then by putting this in because it doesn't. Only to build the surprise reveal later.
Well, and I think like
it is kind of a surprise though.
The one thing I do like about that is because when all that started happening, I was definitely more like, well, here's Sansa being stupid Sansa. Like we all know how this is. Yeah, it's like we all know how this is gonna end, and so I do feel like with her character, you know, it's still annoying how it happened. That they at least showed that she's growing up a little.
I'd argue that Arya almost brings Sansa up a little bit in the essence that. Like, I know that Littlefinger's not a great guy. You know, you might feel one way about him, but he's playing you.
And Bran helps, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This is an interesting thing, and I cannot say that I noticed this. This was something I saw on Reddit. Would give the person credit, but I don't know the username. They said that apparently, if you go back and watch, like, the scenes with Littlefinger in them, there you can often hear like crow sounds in the background, implying that potentially Bran has literally been like spying in on him the entire time.
Well, he even says chaos is ladder.
Well, like, but that's because that's from like season 4.
Right. That's way.
But I'm talking about like everything that's going on.
Like,
and so we could off screen have Bran saying stuff like, "Hey, so just so you guys know, he purposely did this to try to get you guys to go in or whatever."
Being Littlefinger, like yeah. But anyway, so season...
So, continued. Real quick, I don't think we even really need to talk about it that much. Mira Reed leaves, and Bran was kind of a dick about it. And I feel like that's a really weird send-off for her character, for someone who's been, like, right there. I legitimately kind of thought that they were going to be, like, get married or something.
Like, be an item or something, yeah.
And he just kind of is like, thanks, I'm not a boy anymore. Like,
do you think she'll come back?
It's kind of weird how he sent her off.
Yeah, because I feel like she's a character that they've kept around us.
The only reason I could see her coming back right now would be if she brings her dad, because her dad could, in his own words, give merit to Jon's parentage, because he's the only other person who was there. Him and Ned.
Okay. Yeah.
It did seem weird to send her off that way.
Yeah, and I just felt like the beginning parts of Bran in this season were kind of awkward.
I feel like all of Bran was awkward. Even like
Bran's still awkward.
He had a couple like interesting, like oh shit moments, like him calling out Littlefinger. Basically, he got to watch the old seasons is what he got to do. But like, I mean, he sees Sansa, and it's like, oh, you were beautiful the night you were raped. It's like, why would you say that?
Why would you bring that up?
And then Arya comes in, and he's just like, oh, how was your training? It's like, oh, that's what you went with for her.
Yeah, so and that's a good point.
Well, and that's why I was saying, like, the timeline thing that's kind of weird is, if we go, like, through the timeline from the last episode when he's at the council with Littlefinger dying, and we go by the time Jon's been gone, it's like months have gone by. And at this last episode, you finally see him start telling people his stuff. So it's like, why did it
Even
take him
briefly?
Yeah, and it's like, why is it taking him months?
That's my biggest complaint for his character. Is
I guess the only
you
thing
know
I can
all
think
of
is
this, and
because
you're not sharing anything.
But see, some of that stuff, like John's parentage, and I think we can get into it a little bit more when we get to that part. But I think it actually hurts his claim in the North more than it helps, and so maybe that's why Bran is keeping it secret.
Well, there's some
we can get
theories
to
out
that.
there.
Yeah, we'll get to that
when
we get there. But
you know.
So
Well, that would kind of explain his.
we have Daenerys learns that basically she's lost all of her allies, and she takes matters into her own hands. So up until this point, I think the most chilling and engrossing part of the entire series was the finale of season 6 with the whole Sept of Baelor and the music and it all getting blown up. That was and to me, I think this might pass it because you have the Dothraki coming in and just slaughtering these guys. You have a dragon cooking people to the point where like they're instantly turning to ash, and that's like a crazy 13
Well, I thought it was funny because right before that I was talking with RJ and I was like, well, if she's up on the dragon and they shoot arrows at her, I was like, can the dragon just burn the arrows? He's like, I don't know if the dragon can, like, the fire can be that hot. And then right after we see the dragon just torch people, and I was like, so what is that? And he was like, never mind.
I think the dragon could torch arrows. I would argue whether the arrows would even be penetrable through the dragon.
Well,
we
I was saying
if they weren't.
Right,
yeah. No, well, I was saying to hit Daenerys, it's like, if they're shooting, can the dragon just burn all the arrows? So, and that's what we're saying, and we weren't for sure, like, at this point, how
because I was saying, like, what, if you think about it, if I shot, like, let's obviously this is a very toned down, but even if you're shooting arrows at me and I pull out, like, a flamethrower, those arrows are still going to come through and hit me. They're just going to be on fire. And so I was like, I don't know how that equates to dragon fire. And clearly in this case,
it's melted pretty fast.
But then again, I also think about the fact that Harrenhal is made of stone and was melted. But we also don't know how long they took to do that.
Too,
But yeah, no. One of the most intense, and that's why I was saying earlier, this may top 3 scenes of the entire series.
I would say this episode was right up there with the second to last episode. That's probably the best 2 of this season.
Oh, this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't actually that big of a fan of the second to last one.
I would say the second to last one was a bit like more climax. There was more of a climax than what happened in the finale.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Only because the finale, maybe. You did have some story arcs and you had some characters die off.
But that is also often the case. Of course.
But then, like, I would argue that the finale was kind of underwhelming, except for those last 10 minutes when you get to see what happens with the wall and I mean, we'll touch on that here in a few minutes, but this episode, the one with the dragon initially and the Dothraki coming in, is probably the strongest impression throughout the season.
I just loved because I don't think I've had an episode jerk with my emotions so much of like. Because you're like, yes, it's finally war, but then you're like, I don't want Jaime to die.
Well,
wait,
what are you doing?
Die.
You have Bran.
Yeah, and you're like, I don't want the dragon to die.
You have Bronn with the scorpion, and you're like,
no, I don't want the dragon to die.
I obviously don't want Drogon to die.
Yeah.
I mean, and I feel like it was just messing
I
with
just
your
felt
emotions.
like Tyrion that entire episode, like, you don't do it. Flee, you idiot. You fucking idiot. Just flee.
Uh-huh.
Like, move on. That was exactly how I felt.
Yeah, and I love how
it did feel a little bit of like the plot armor was strong though, where it was like, oh, thankfully none of the main characters even got hurt because it ends with Bronn managing to jump and knock Jaime off a horse,
and no one,
and then they start drowning.
Them later
and
on,
then at the beginning of the next episode, somehow they've gone like a mile down river
with all their armor on.
They asked, like, I don't remember who it was. It was maybe GameSpot or like IGN. Someone like asked an armorer, like, "Hey, does Jaime drown there?" And he's like, "Yeah, he can't get out unless someone helps him." But the thing is, Bronn is also probably gonna drown.
Well, he is,
and they certainly didn't go that far. It's still heavy.
Even then, though, to carry somebody up with all that.
That was the thing he said. Even if it was just leather armor, you're not gonna be able to get out by yourself. And to go like a mile downstream, like it's not happening.
Yeah.
No. Well, that's a kind of a plot hole. you know.
Yeah,
it was kind of like that. We got to get them out of there without them getting.
So
killed
let's just go in the
captured.
lake, and then somehow they'll end up on the other side of the lake later on, and Daenerys and everybody there won't have searched it and captured those guys, but you know.
But so this is, I think, one of the arguments I had with him was because he said something very similar. I said, well, Daenerys doesn't know who he is.
Yeah,
she doesn't know that he's
true.
the queen's brother and like the general's child.
She doesn't understand the stakes.
For all she knows, it's a guy who just decided to try to be hero.
Yeah, and that's once he told me that, and that's what I was.
That's a great point, and I didn't think about it like that. But for as an audience, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, it's because we know, and I will tell you, and we can stay on this episode, but after that episode when he goes back to tell Cersei about what he saw, I love how he describes the Dothraki. He's like, killing was a sport for them. He's like, this was nothing. This was fun. He's like, how do you fight that? And he's like, they're animals.
And that all goes without mentioning the dragon that pierced your lines.
I think there was only one dragon.
And that was just one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going on to the next episode, we have that. We have Daenerys burning Randall and Dickon Tarly, which was one of those like weird kind of scenes because she says like, I'm not here to burn and kill all you guys, and then she burns and kills, and like it's one of those things where it kind of shows that there is still that like,
but not everybody though.
No, she only
There's
kills
some
them.
mercy, but it's like also to prove a point, like.
But it's like a point of contention because she's going against the advice she's being given, and you literally have the scene later where it's like, Varys and Tyrion, they're like, he says we gotta rein her in here.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And I would say that
because even Tyrion goes on and mentions like you can be the leader that makes change in the world, or you can be the one that just
adds to it again.
This does the same cycle.
Go back into the wheel.
You know?
And exactly. I will say, I think that the closer she's grown to Jon, I think actually she's kind of getting more back to that a little bit. Because I think she's again. Yeah, I think like she started going like real rebel there for a while, and then.
Well, especially after she lost some of her.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. And then I think now, Jon is kind of keeping her level-headed almost, because it's almost giving her a reason, I guess. Not like she didn't already have one, but I guess more of a reason to not become.
Well, even her stakes are raised because of what happens, later on.
Yeah.
When not believing in this undead army and the Night King, and then having actually witnessed it, and then
you have Jorah gets back to Dragonstone, still in the friend zone, and Bran sees that the White Walkers are going towards Eastwatch. So this is where you get like the beginning of. I personally didn't have an issue with it, but I think a lot of people had issue with the travel in this episode as well as the next episode, because there's a lot of travel. Like Davos goes from Dragonstone to King's Landing with Tyrion. He brings them and he smuggles them in so Tyrion and Jaime can talk.
Right.
Meanwhile, he gets Gendry, which is cool because we get him back again.
Same with a battle axe.
Yes, sir.
With a hammer, sir.
Oh, my bad. Warhammer. My bad. I got.
And then it was just funny to have Gendry talking about how him and Jon be like, like our fathers trust each other. Why not? And it's like, well, actually, Rhaegar and Robert hated each other, and Robert killed him.
It wasn't as good as he thought it was.
But again, they don't know that yet. So
yeah, they don't. Which is one of the main storylines going into 8.
Mm-hmm.
How that.
Sorry, and then all of them, including Jorah and Gendry and Jorah, Gendry, Davos, and Jon. I might have missed someone. Did I? I don't think so.
Beard Wildling.
Well, he's already up there.
Oh, is he? Oh, okay.
They go up to Eastwatch, so again more travel. And then up there they meet Tormund and Beric and the Hound and Thoros.
Right.
And all of them go, not Davos, he stays in Eastwatch, but the other ones go north of the Wall.
With a few other guys that are faces.
Yeah, with a couple red shirts. And that's kind of how that one ends. But not to skip it, to continue, not to go too fast through that, like to kind of slow it down a little. This is the episode where Gilly and Sam leave leave Old Town, and Gilly hints at the real big revelation that Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen are married. Or
secretly wed.
And I saw a lot of people online complaining like, "Oh, Sam just listened to Gilly," but like if you think about it from the character's standpoint, it means nothing to him. He doesn't know the significance of that. Who cares that they got married because he doesn't know that John is their kid.
True.
So it's not weird that he kind of just brushes past it.
I saw a lot of people get upset in the finale though that he like took credit for actually naming that.
Yeah.
Without mentioning Gilly.
Again, the other thing is we don't know that she actually is the one who described it because the way he says it in the finale is I transcribed. He wouldn't have done that after leaving, so more likely he transcribed it and then she was reading it after that.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's the way I would see it.
And I think that's one of the hard things about this show is we as an audience get everyone's perspective, and sometimes it's hard to remember
to understand how they relate with each
and it's hard
other.
to remember which characters actually interacted with which and at what point.
That's actually a good segue into the ending of this episode is because you have this group of ragtag people who, Gendry is upset to see Beric and Thoros and doesn't want to work with them because they sold him to Melisandre, and the Hound sees who does the Hound see that he doesn't like? Blanking right now. Sorry, Jorah. Well, whatever. I'll just skip. Jorah and Thoros have like history of fighting alongside each other, and that one's kind of one that they sort of get back on. Like the two of them fought during the Greyjoy Rebellion. They came together and they charged Pike together.
Yeah.
You have. Oh, it was just the Hound and Jon remember seeing each other. But again, the last time Jon saw the Hound he's King Joffrey's lackey. Actually, King Robert's technically still at that point.
Way back, yeah.
But they all agree like, hey, we're all living, so we're on the same team. Oh, and you have Tormund and Jorah don't like each other, or he doesn't like him because he learns that he's a Mormont.
Yeah.
So you just have a bunch of stuff like that.
I love the birth of happens here. The birth of the combination of
the Hound and Tormund.
Yes, and it's just
that might be like
one of the best
romances. So we go
ever.
into the next episode, Beyond the Wall, and we have a lot of interaction between the characters as they're going on. And I never knew how much I wanted to see a movie of just the two of them doing like a buddy cop movie.
Yeah, right? I totally agree.
Like, their whole conversation about Brienne.
Oh, it was the best.
Like, you do know her.
That was probably the best comical relief of the season.
And who, is it the Hound that likes Brienne, or is it
Tormund?
Tormund, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
He's
Yeah.
got
The best part about that is I was reading in an interview is that was completely like, I don't know the guy who plays Tormund's name, but Gwendolyn Christie is Brienne, and the two of them, it wasn't in the script to do that. It just said something like Tormund looks at her and like, because he's never seen a woman this big, but and they felt like it was falling flat, so they basically together turned it into this like romance thing.
Fest, like,
and so the writers were like, all right, let's go with it. Like, we like this idea.
It pays off in this scene for sure. It's one of the best.
I've got this great big beast of a woman waiting for me.
And then I love when, he calls him a dick, and he's like, what's a dick? And he's like,
it's like a cock.
It's like cock. He's like, I like cock. Or he's like, I like dick. And he's like, I bet you do.
Yeah, no joke.
But yeah, the two of them were...
Well, and you have the discussion with Thoros and Jorah talking about the Greyjoy Rebellion. Like, how drunk were you? He's like, I don't even remember doing it. I woke up the next day and was told I led the charge.
It's so good. But and I thought and we see a freaking white, like a zombie bear, pretty much zombie ice bear.
Yeah, that's true.
Which was a pretty intense scene. I feel
the problem I had with that part of the episode was like it basically mauls Thoros, and then he kind of just like almost shrugs it off. Like he's clearly hobbled by it, but he doesn't. They fight later, and he seems to be fine.
Back to normal, 100%
for a little while.
He does end up.
For a bear mauling him, he looked pretty good.
I mean, there's a whole movie based off a dude getting mauled by a bear and living.
It's true.
Yeah, Revenant, right?
Yep.
That's not the only thing that happens.
I know.
Yeah. No, and I thought
it's okay, you want to know, see.
And I will say, I thought this episode was good. All of them going on this adventure, I thought it was done real well. I do think It's kind of weird because I kept seeing people dying and I didn't know who they were.
None of the main people.
But it didn't even look like there were background people until fight scenes and people were dying.
It was like every once in a while you'd see them kind of in the back and the front, but you just wouldn't.
Secondary.
So
before we continue on with that part of the story, let's kind of go to the real quick things that happened between those scenes and the end.
I guess people had sex.
No.
It wasn't one of those episodes.
This is the episode where Sansa and Arya are still kind of like where Arya basically threatens Sansa because she finds the bag of faces.
That's right, and she's
it's like I could wear anyone's face. I could wear yours. I wonder what it would be like.
Being just the Lady of Winterfell.
Again, that's the part where I was kind of like.
You felt it was manufactured.
It felt manufactured because like Arya went from being like, I don't know, even like happy to see her sister, then it almost turned into this like almost monotone like I could kill anyone I want. It could be you. You better watch yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think that's part and due to Littlefinger and Arya reading that note from way back.
I definitely feel like
season 1, but
they used and I know Littlefinger's always the center of drama, and I feel like in the past how they've done his stuff, it flowed a little better. This time it did seem very forced.
I think that is part of the issue of having fewer episodes. Is some of the storylines had to be rushed.
You had to cram stuff in, and you had to rush it.
But true.
I think in the end they resolved it, and now it's one less thing you got to worry about. But
yeah,
and I think
it's one less.
And I think that was the purpose
ending.
of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what the finale almost served for. I don't want to say it was filler, but it was
really just a setup.
It was a huge setup episode.
For the next season.
We're tying up a lot of these ends, and then we're also propelling these other major storylines moving forward into the final season.
So let's see, what else do we get? Tyrion and Daenerys are talking because at this point, everyone's gone. She's kind of saying she says something along the lines of Drogo, Jorah, Dario, and Jon Snow. They're always trying to be like brave and. Like these kind of people are always trying to be brave and do something stupid and get themselves killed. And he's like, "Oh, interesting. You say those people because all of them love you." Yeah. She's like, "Oh, Jon doesn't love me." You're kind of like,
I don't know.
Yeah. And then what did she say? He's not big enough for me, or he's too small, or something like that. She makes a comment.
Was that in reference to Jon?
Yeah. She was saying like he wasn't her type or something like that, and
not yet.
Yeah, no, not just giving it an episode to Daenerys.
Well, so
just wait till he bends the knee.
So now we get back to the other part. They find the Whites and the White Walker, and this is, I believe, the part where the most people had issue with the timeline, and I will describe why I didn't have too much of an issue in it when we kind of break it down.
Okay.
So, this part I did have an issue with. They find the original, there's a White Walker with a group behind him. And they attack him, they kill the White Walker, and then
they try
this is where you learn, if you kill a White Walker, the Whites it created die.
Right.
And conveniently, there's one that doesn't die. Yeah. One singular that doesn't die, that for some reason was with him. Yeah. Okay, but again, why is this one off by itself? It kind of was weird to me, and unless this is part of the part that can make sense if you think of it from this standpoint, is the Night King is smarter than we give him credit for and is purposely trying to lure them in.
I think that's more likely.
The other thought is
true.
But
it also serves a plot point.
And this is an if because we don't know one way or another, if he knows that the dragons are back, it is
like the Night King?
His plan could be trying to get a dragon this whole time.
To lure them almost.
How would he know that?
Yeah, how would he know that?
That's why I said you have to go. There's
theories
that Bran is the Night King.
Yeah. That's true. That's a major theory.
I don't think that's true at all.
They actually do wear very similar clothes. There's a shot of them.
Yeah,
but
there's a theory that Stark is definitely tied to the Night King and.
I think he's tied to
they think that Bran is tied to a lot of stuff, too.
That's
Bran's such a mystery
what bugs
character
me
at
the
this
most
point.
about the season is how much Bran knows and how much how little his character contributes almost, and how little...
I would be terrible at that, having that power and responsibility, because I just fucking tell everyone everything. be like, all right, guys, and I would just be spilling the beans constantly. He's like waiting it out, and he's like, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, but then
See what you guys
what's
figure out
his
on the
character motive? And I think that's probably one of the.
And I think
We
that's what's
don't know
hard
yet.
is you can't consider him Bran anymore because he's not like
he's three-eyed raven now.
Yeah, and he doesn't really consider himself part of anyone or really for anyone, and I think that's what makes it hard with him, which is maybe why he's not giving information out.
Which leads to all this speculation as to like what's his.
But then
purpose.
it's pretty obvious from the last Three-Eyed Raven that the Three-Eyed Raven isn't a fan of Walker or Whites and White Walkers and stuff.
Right,
so,
but
he could also
why isn't he?
potentially-
Right, but
Yeah, but
Bran
why isn't he
also,
doing more to help?
Well, he
beat
also
them?
has
What
a
else
different.
can he do?
Start telling people shit.
Well, he has a
He-
different history with the
when it comes to
Walkers
the White
than
Walkers, he's
original
telling them
Three-Eyed
stuff.
Raven.
I guess it's true.
It's just the other stuff he doesn't say. Like, how does telling John he's a Targaryen help with the White Walkers? It doesn't.
No, this is true.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't
But-
tell anyone the Whites. He knew they were a lot closer than everyone thought.
But that's
he
the whole
didn't
reason
say.
they go there is because he does tell people.
Finally, but it takes him still a little bit. That's why I'm just saying. Like, I feel like if I were, and this is me, I would just spill everything. I'd be like, he kind of waits and releases things.
I disagree
at
that
the
he
perfect time.
waits too long to tell about the Whites. I think he tells them when he first learns about it.
Really,
Yeah, he flies the ravens over there, sees them, and then sends a raven off to the
Well,
old, to
okay.
Old Town
I
to
don't remember.
John.
Okay.
I
I
get
didn't
what
remember
you're
that.
saying, but I think less
That's the
so about
reason
the
John
White
goes
Walkers.
up
Like
there.
he tells
Oh,
them right
okay.
away,
I
but
didn't
then he
remember
has
that.
all this other information that is
Yeah.
withholding to a certain point for what motives he has, which is all unclear.
And again, we also don't know how much he actually is withholding because,
True.
to some extent, he may or may not have. He has to have said something about Littlefinger to the girls.
I think he did to a degree.
But
Brienne,
So-
I mean,
well, and
you
that's
know,
what's-
from what the audience sees, Brienne says more to Sansa when she's leaving.
Well, and another thing is, it seems like all season Bran is just acting like I'm not Bran anymore. I remember him, but then that last episode, he's like working with his family, and it's like he's doing something to help his like, because how he does it's very different. I feel than the rest
a
of his
couple
character.
lines.
But it's just like he straight out calls him out, and he's like doing it to help his sisters. And
well, he
it's
just
like,
said,
and it just
you
seems-
held a knife to Ned Stark's throat.
Yeah, and it
So
just
that's the only thing he says in that whole scene there.
Yeah, but it's more him saying stuff to help his sisters compared to before. He was like, "I'm not Bran anymore.
True,
I have
but
a
it's
better
only,
agenda."
It's only reaffirming what they have already gone on.
Yeah,
At that
and
point.
what I'm saying is, it's like he's picking and choosing his moments.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that leads me to question more like what are
Yeah.
you trying to get out of it?
Exactly,
Where,
and
where
that's
do you
what,
serve?
yeah.
You know?
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, so he's a three-eyed raven and no one else matters when it's this situation. But this situation, he's like, oh, I'm taking a break from three-eyed raven. Let me help my sisters stop the guy like plotting against him. So it's just kind of like, how is he picking and choosing his moments?
No, that's the thing. Is like I have no idea how his story plays out in
and I think
season 8.
he's
And I
the
mean,
one that everyone's wondering about most.
I guess I
Well,
agree
he
that
has
he's
the most
picking and choosing
power,
his moments. I personally don't feel like he changed his character at all by helping his sisters.
No.
I mean, all he did was offer facts, technically.
Right. Yeah.
But let's go back to in the north. They've captured a white, and they realize that the entire army is now coming down on them. They send Gendry off. Now, this I think where people start getting annoyed because as Gendry runs away, they get surrounded on a lake that
Right.
breaks and needs to then freeze over.
Right.
So, to the best guess, it seems like they only walk for one day, and probably not even the full day. So Gendry could easily run back pretty, in a reasonable
Right.
speed.
Yeah.
But then he has to send a raven
Mm-hmm.
from the wall to Dragonstone, which people have estimated is like, I think it was 1,600 miles.
So
And then
like,
she
you
has
know,
to fly back.
Right.
During that time, we don't get a real passage of time. We see it seems to kind of be, we get at least one night. However, this is the part where I'm going to say that I don't have a problem because I saw, it was a Reddit post again, don't remember who wrote it, but they were talking about why it made sense. And they say, they had gone through a bunch of math where Gendry, they probably went this far because they seem to be walking about this fast and everything. So Gendry could make it back in this amount of time. The Raven could fly in this amount of time. And basically, they estimated it would be about 4 to 5 days had passed. And you're like, well, that's kind of a lot. But since it doesn't seem like the White Walkers are helping in any way to make the ice melt over, he said that actually makes sense and that the ice would probably freeze about, I think he said it was 7 inches during that time, which is a good amount to be able to carry the weight of all the whites across. So if you go with that, and that's how much time it passed, then it's not. We don't have rocket pigeons speeding across. It would actually make sense potentially.
So they were sitting on that rock for 4 days.
Potentially, yes. Now, that would then beg the question of how the heck are they still so energized and fighting? But
adrenaline's an
at least that
thing.
way you can come up with a way to get around the seemingly weird passage of time.
Yeah.
Whether or not you choose to believe that, it's up to you. But I think that that it makes sense to me that more time passes than a single day.
Right.
Because if you try to constrain it to 1 day, yes, it's impossible for that to have happened. But I also don't think there's any reason to constrain it to 1 day. The director of the episode straight up said, we tried to not give you full hints of exactly how long it passed.
Time frames, yeah.
We tried to keep it kind of in a weird limbo time.
Yeah. It didn't bother me, but I mean, I think the reason why a lot of the audience questioned the time frames is just because it's so different compared to the other seasons and how quickly things transpire in this amount of time. But it didn't bother me. It didn't take me out of the story or anything.
Well, that's because in other seasons, when they go to leave somewhere, you don't see them till an episode or 2 later.
Usually,
Or
Gendry's case, seasons later.
But that's true. That's exactly true. But in this particular episode, we're literally focusing on this particular instance. So, to question time at that point, it's kind of it's all relative.
Well, because we're at the point where it's a normal movie or show. There's not all this other stuff going on. So just like a movie, they don't show you the entire.
Well, you're not going to get all the dead action in.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
Not
And so
let's follow that Raven all the way over to Dragons.
Yeah, let's entice the audience with that.
So regardless of how long passes, throwers at some point freezes to death, and Daenerys comes to save them. Right, of course, at the perfect time when they're starting to get attacked. And like we said, I think a couple episodes ago, the White Army stands no chance against the Dragons. It's just destroying.
Oh, yeah. It's cleaning up.
However, they don't think about our javelin throwing gold medalist,
our
the
Olympic
Night King.
Dude, I didn't know you could throw a spear which 500 miles per hour, dead point accuracy miles away.
Well, so it doesn't have to necessarily be 500 miles an hour. I think you could just go in
I'm saying
cold.
fast, but...
Did you... Well, I have a comment.
We know from at least the writing that White Walkers are faster and stronger than humans. So they obviously throw faster, but I think it could also just be because they talk about normal swords. The cold of the White Walker weapons is so much that steel just instantly shatters when it touches it. That's
How
why
crazy is that?
That's why they're surprised when the Valyrian steel is able to withstand it. So it doesn't even necessarily have to be thrown extraordinarily hard. I don't know that it was thrown any harder than the Scorpion shot the bolt. It's just such an intense weapon because of the nature of it being White Walker that it's able to pierce.
Yeah.
It does come up with a weird question of why didn't he just throw it at Drogon?
I was gonna bring that up,
since he was closer, not moving, and
the people,
if you take it out, you could get all the people.
Exactly.
There.
He was just showing
plot
off.
armor is why.
He was just showing off his man.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone was not at least somewhat emotionally scarred by seeing a dragon bleed out and crash into the water.
Oh, the way it did, yeah.
Dude, it had a pretty intense freaking death.
Dude,
even the part of the fire as it's coming out the side.
Yeah,
for a second,
it literally broke the dragon right when it hit. It was the exact opposite of what the Scorpion did, almost.
I'll tell you what, Daenerys handled that better than I thought she would. I thought she was gonna
I think in the moment, cause I showed Tina the whole ending part, and she was like, "Why is she not more emotional?" I think she was more. Daenerys was more so in just shock.
And she's still trying to realize that she's in danger. She can't just stop. Exactly. She kind of has mourning moment at some point.
She does, but it's not right in that moment.
Yeah.
She's so in shock, and then you have Jon, who I would argue kind of screwed all of that if he just left right away with the dragon. But then he's screaming, "Go!" because the White Walker's bringing the second. Javelin
and thankfully that one misses, of course.
Whew, only 50% accuracy of that guy. But he could have had damn near 2 dragons on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just intense, and how Daenerys handled it. It was
well, and I think that going on on from this point. Does she bring her dragons near that battle?
I don't think she has a choice.
She has to.
Yeah,
She just
tell me that's
but
not
she-
freaking
but-
freaky,
Well,
man.
but
you
I
have
mean,
to know
think
where the
about
Night
it.
King is.
In
and you have
this
to-
case, yes, it happened to kill it, but the Scorpion clearly was able to still hurt Drogon, and that didn't suddenly stop her from bringing dragons around the Lannisters.
that's true.
It didn't kill it that time,
Yeah.
but depending on where it hit, it could have potentially done damage.
Yeah, she
That's
was
true.
probably completely unaware of that even being a threat with the Night King. I mean, she's seeing
Yeah,
the
no,
undead
no.
army for the first time, just
Yeah.
realizing how
Well,
drastic
and that's
this
what
is.
yeah.
And then, on top of all that, to lose a dragon, you're like, what the heck? And then, she has to hightail it out of there. And that whole scenario, brings John and her together in essence, that she now has to help him kill the army.
And so it is again another one of those things. Why not? And granted, she doesn't. Even though she heard about it, I don't know that. Maybe in the moment she's probably more focused on things that are actually charging the group, because there's a lot of people who've been like, why didn't she just kill the White Walker? She could stop it. Well, for one, she doesn't know that killing them destroys the whites.
Mhm.
And
she
two,
doesn't
again,
know anything.
the White Walkers are standing back here. The more present threat to the people she's trying to save is
immediate,
charging
yeah.
at
Yeah,
them.
you wouldn't
Exactly.
pay attention. Well, and she's not a military
And she's seeing this all for
strategist
the
either.
first time.
Yeah,
Like, she has no idea what she's getting into.
And that never
at that
popped
point.
in my head.
And
but I have
Tyrion's
read.
not present there. He's not advising her.
No.
They're just trying to... This is a rescue mission at that point.
Yeah, and she was
with the
completely
Raven.
acting out of emotion.
Oh, for sure.
So she flies off and leaving Jon Snow there. And this was again another part where it kind of felt like, hey, the plot armor is strong with this one, because he falls in the water, but is able to struggle his way out,
Kill
and then
3 of
Benjen
those
Stark
guys.
shows up, and
That was
for whatever reason decides not to ride with him. I don't know.
That part I didn't get at all.
Just because they could chase him down, and
He could have.
But I don't know that
Benjen.
Benjen Stark fighting off a group of whites suddenly slows them down at all. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
Other than it just is like the writing of, it's the sacrifice of.
That's
someone
kind of what
coming
it
back.
felt. It was like there's.
But
no
it also
other
kind of
purpose
felt
than
like
that.
he wanted to die in a way, because it was like his release from this almost not immortality, but
hell, person.
well, actually, immortality is the good way to put it, because he's not gonna die without being killed. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because immortality doesn't mean you can't be killed. It just means you're not gonna die of old age.
Like natural causes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he couldn't go south of the wall as it was currently. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
It's good timing though, man.
I wonder if he was just sitting back
Talk about a
watching the
last
whole
minute
time.
sub coming in
All
quick.
right. So the finale then.
Yeah.
We're now on the finale.
Yeah.
And
Boss finale.
I personally was
Let down.
I was let down by the finale.
I was underwhelmed until the very end, but I kind of was anticipating all of it to be saved till then. So.
Well,
I
so-
kind of
'cause-
just wanted Cersei's plotline to be resolved.
And I
by
think
the
that
end
was
of
my
this
biggest
season.
problem. Is
True,
I
but-
anticipated something big happening at
With
the
her,
beginning,
or that.
and nothing did.
No,
and like
not really.
that's the weird thing to me is we spent like 20 minutes in like the dragon pit and all that stuff, and if you ask me, nothing came out of it.
No.
We
I
could have
would
had
not
the
do that.
same thing in 5 minutes and just kept
Yeah.
going. Like,
Yeah.
because in the end, Cersei agrees to join them and then doesn't.
Yeah,
and
so
then,
if anything, that whole encounter makes me have more questions about what what her role is moving
well,
forward.
yeah, and I think all of us are surprised that she is actually still a player at this point, because I think,
yeah,
at least certainly for me, I thought she was going to try to betray them and end up getting killed, and that they were going to resolve almost the human conflict at the end of the
right.
season.
And maybe that was what we kind of, I think we all kind of agree that we
Yeah.
felt somewhat underwhelmed. And I think what kind of bypassed that was that there was a point where Tyrion could have died when he was meeting her. There was a point where I almost thought Jaime was going to die.
It was a very
Jon
emotional
definitely gonna
episode
kill
for
him.
sure. They were messing
So
with stuff.
Well, yeah,
it was
they
like they were
definitely
just
played those.
they were playing those plot points. They were playing the emotions of those.
And a show
characters
like Game of
potentially
Thrones is
dying.
one of the only ones that can pull that off, because
Right.
most of the time you're like, well, this main character is not going to die.
Right.
But here you're like,
You think it does?
well,
but
Tyrion actually could die, or Jaime could actually die,
then,
or
right. That's what I was thinking. but
Arya
then-
could actually die.
Yeah, but then none of it actually happened, and then you have Cersei literally going back on her word, and then saying that Jaime's now going to commit treason if he goes out there with Jon and
I will say,
Daenerys' army. So it's like, it's kind of like those moments that don't actually transpire that kind of makes it underwhelming.
Yeah.
Because now we have more questions moving forward about her role and how
It is
she's
one of those,
gonna
you can
act.
only tease something so many times before,
like
the
a big
teaser.
Yeah.
Not to say that it lost the effect.
No.
Because I still think most of us were still a little on edge just
I
by the
was,
nature of the show.
For what? Tyrion?
The teasing of main
Of
characters.
those
death.
dying,
just,
yeah.
in
I mean,
general,
it could have
okay,
happened
yeah.
for several characters in the finale.
Mhm.
So I will say, there was one little moment that stood out to me in that episode that I think was overlooked. A little bit. Was the Hound and the Mountain have like a face-to-face.
See, I actually thought that was really dumb because I wanted them to actually just fight.
Yeah, it was
Instead,
really quick,
it was
too.
basically like hey, let's build up the hype for when they do fight in episode or in season
Kinda.
8 instead.
Kinda.
But I didn't realize how the Hound is still pretty big. Even he's not small compared to his brother.
No.
That's the
He's
first time we've
just as-
seen
I
them
wanna-
next to each
I
other.
wanna-
No, I think it's just because it's been so long I haven't seen them together.
Well, and the Mountain does tower above so many others.
Right.
Exactly.
But they're
And-
like damn near
But them
pretty
standing
close.
next, they're almost the same height.
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess I had never, or it's been so long since I've seen them.
Mhm.
I didn't put that. The Hound actually, in my opinion, will probably win that fight.
Well,
I don't know.
since he's the Hound,
Sure,
I'm
but-
sure he will.
Exactly. But I'm just saying, I think.
But he might also die.
He could win and die at the same time.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I think he'll put up a better fight than I thought. Just realizing how.
Right.
Well, again,
he's
The
actually,
stature of
The
both.
last
yeah,
time they
yeah.
did fight was season 1. They fight during the Hand's tourney because the Mountain's horse falls over. The Mountain cuts the head off the horse, and then goes to try to kill. I think it's Loras who was the one who unhorsed him, and the Hound pulls out his sword, blocks it, and they have a couple things before Robert demands that they stop. And at least during that part, they're fighting very evenly matched during the
Yeah.
few blows that they take.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I just like I said, I never realized how.
But
big
yeah.
the
No,
Hound
they're
is.
very
So-
comparable.
Yeah. But I think it's how he mentions just like the Frankenstein zombie look of his brother. He's
He
just
looks ugly.
But I do feel like, in why I personally think the Hound will win, and this is just because I have feels for the guy, but he, I think, has more to fight for at this point, and his heart's turned, and he's learned a lot more, and I feel like they did really good by his character.
He has more motivation.
I think by killing his character off and leaving him just, out of it for a little bit and bringing it back and going, I think that helped the character, because we're almost starting new again, and you're like, oh, cool, I haven't seen a whole lot of him, and it's kind of nice.
Well, just like RJ was saying, it's
Yeah.
one of those characters that you're like, he's not a good guy, I don't know, like him. But then over time, it's like, well, he brings a lot. And,
Yeah.
He's changed his character. He cares
Yeah.
more than he lets on.
Well, what they did is they made us miss him.
Yeah.
And then they brought him back, and then they just killed it with his lines and stuff he does and, his growth. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
now he's definitely a character where I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't... Because before, I liked the Hound, but if he died, I've been like, okay, cool. I wouldn't be sad. Now it's like, in that battle, when they're fighting the Whites, and the Hound is... I'm like, no, don't kill the Hound. I was actually sincere. I don't want him to die now.
I'll be honest, to quickly jump back very, very briefly to the last episode that we just talked about, I'm surprised that only Thoros died in terms of named characters.
Yeah.
I legitimately thought only 3 of them were going to make it.
Yeah, at that point.
So now,
That was interesting.
continue with this one, Cersei reveals that she was lying the whole time. And Jaime finally stands up to her. And like I said, not to say that it came out of nowhere, because I do believe that they built that up for most of the season.
Yeah.
It still felt like he did take a step back from the end of last season.
Yeah.
But it did get to the point where he finally leaves. And he calls her bluff. She says she's going to kill him.
You
She
gonna kill
nods
me?
to the
Do it.
mountain.
Yeah.
He pulls a sword. And Jaime's like, no, you're not going to do it. And just walks
Yeah.
off.
But even then, I was like, oh.
And you get the shot of him riding away, no longer in his Lannister armor. He covers up the gold hand.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, he's breaking off all ties from the Lannisters. And then you see, for the first time, snow in King's Landing. Which I thought was just a cool shot of the snow. Fine. It's like, hey, winter really is here.
It's a big deal now.
And it's not just in the north.
Right, and that's kind of what they were playing, or she was playing it off. It's like, oh, well, it's in the north, you're closer, you're going to have to deal with it. So we could ride you out, and then we'll deal with what's left.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, oh, I'm going to fully fledge and join you guys, but...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because the whole thing ended up turning into this idea of, I swore an oath, I'm going to ride north whether you want me to or not. And
Right.
he's not taking an oath, but he's going. And so, clearly in Season 8, he's going to meet up with them, and he's going to tell them that Cersei betrayed them.
Mm-hmm.
Just gonna... Yeah.
Because
So-
she's got the Golden Company coming.
Now, to go to the next part, and I know we can't talk about this. It is weird. I mean, Jon and Dany finally.
They make love.
They do the sex, but
they do
Tyrion's
vertical
reaction.
tango.
Tyrion's reaction is really weird, right?
Yeah, so
I almost think he expected it.
Well,
but
so
then,
that's the thing is his reaction though.
But his reaction
is almost one of disgust or like of what have I done, and I don't know.
True.
It from browsing the subreddit, to me that seemed to be the most talked about part of the finale. And one theory that I saw that makes the most sense to me was that he told Cersei to lie. Because he knew that without that, the others might not focus on the North. And so he's upset with himself for having to deceive Jon and Dany, but it was the only way to get them to focus on the real threat when he knew that Cersei wasn't going to go along with it. But he told, like, that's how they brokered the thing that we didn't see off screen.
Yeah.
Because he talks with her, and then suddenly she's like, okay, I'm going to join you guys. It's like, what do they say? And I think that makes the most sense to me.
So it's not that he's disgusted with them, it's just he feels he's betrayed them a little bit.
Yes.
Oh,
but it's also like propelling them towards to addressing the real issue.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it's not he's disappointed
feeling
in their relationship.
upset with himself for having to keep it secret, but it was the only
thing
way
that
he
brought
could
them
do.
together, kind of, yeah.
And that makes sense to me.
That does make sense.
The other thing would potentially be that he knows that the two of them getting romantically involved could throw a wrench, even without knowing that they're aunt and nephew.
He does not know that.
But I'm saying you could still throw a wrench in everything. Like, you think about anytime feelings get involved, it makes things more complicated.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I definitely did think, though, I mean, we've seen some really great things from Tyrion, but I think we had some of Tyrion's most emotional stuff. I mean, towards him just standing up and just saying, like, I don't give a fuck, kill me then.
Even with him and Cersei, that was a pivotal moment.
I mean, he did a lot of kind of things I don't think he normally would do.
The only other...
Well, he's calling it.
I was about to say that I think this is the only time we've seen him with, like, just spiraling out of control the whole time, where he's trying to get it and he's just not getting it. But I guess the season of him being in prison the whole time doesn't really have a lot of... He's not in control during that.
Yeah.
But at least that one ends with him being in control by killing his dad.
Right.
This one, he's still kind of trying to get that control back of, like, okay, we're going where we should be, and I've brokered, like, you're trusting each other, but it's still kind of like, she's going with, like, Jon's advice more than his right now.
That's true. Yeah. That kind of is what he's had to deal with this whole season. It's balancing all these personalities and these egos and just making sure that the proper, war is addressed, and that's with the White Walkers as opposed to with, the Lannisters and the Starks and the Targaryens. More so addressing, like, the immediate threat that, Cersei and the Lannisters weren't necessarily aware of.
I will say, though, on that note, how, like, Cersei choosing to betray them, how does Cersei see this ending? Like, I'm not going to help them. Like, what does she think behind her castle walls?
I think she damaged her relationship with Jaime, definitely.
Yeah, but it's just like she's pretty much saying, I'm not going to do anything, we're all going to die. Like,
I think the only thing she is thinking is that regardless of who wins, whether it's the White Walkers or whether it's this alliance, whoever comes back from the North
is
going to be... Well, but they're going to be broken from the war that they just fought.
Right, so then it's like a vulnerable target that I can then pick off.
But think about that. She doesn't know how to kill... Well, I guess Jon kind of told her how to kill Whites and Walkers, but she doesn't have that kind of stuff. And even that, she doesn't have anything to face dragons. So... She's
got access to wildfire.
This is a win for her.
No, I thought they were all out of wildfire. Didn't she use all of it to blow up the one place?
Yeah, if only they could create more.
Oh,
they created more a bunch of times already. She's got
and she would definitely need to do that to kill dragons. But I think, she sees it as though this is an opportunity for her just to literally wait it out, let them damage each other, then whatever comes back is a lesser of a threat than I would have initially dealt with, and now I can just do it then. And that's probably why she even had the same, emotional reaction with Jaime, is because, at this point, if you're going to go do that, she's probably thinking you're not going to come back, or if you, by some, miracle you do, are you still fighting with them, or are you fighting with me? And at that point, I'm going to end whoever's left so that we have the throne.
Yeah.
Okay, what about that?
She's going to be trying to fortify her holdings.
Right, with the gold company and everything else. Yeah,
out.
she's going to be plotting while they're dealing
Which
with the
will
White Walkers out there.
bring into question exactly how season 8 plays out with that part of the story, because I don't imagine they're going to suddenly turn back when they learn she's betrayed them. They're going to be too focused on the North.
That's a secondary thought at that point.
Season 8, plot twist, no one thought of. What if the White Walkers and Jon and them talk, they create a truce just to kill Cersei, and then they battle it out?
I disagree. Only because the White Walkers have no motives to kill Cersei. They don't know Cersei.
All you gotta say is she's the biggest bitch in the world. I'll tell you what.
They don't know the Iron Throne. They don't give a fuck about the
I'm
Iron
just
Throne.
saying it would be a pretty fun thing.
I know, but
I just want her to die as soon as possible.
I know.
Okay.
But a lot of people thought she was gonna die this season.
I know, that's why I'm
didn't.
so mad.
At this rate, I don't think she's going to die until the end of season 8. I think
She either
She's
ends
a
up
major
on the
player.
throne or she dies.
I
in the last
legitimately
episode.
think that the Night King dies before her at this point.
Wow.
Because how else do you get them to go back to fight her? You have to beat the Night King before that happens.
Yeah.
I think at this rate, the way season 6 goes, maybe it takes 4 episodes of build up and fighting the White Walkers. They actually manage to defeat them at a great loss, probably lose at least one other
we
dragon.
have to talk
probably,
about that.
and then they have no choice but to go back and fight.
Right.
It's almost like, if you've read the Lord of the Rings books, they go through all of this and then they come back only to learn that the Shire is under attack. That's almost kind of what it is in this case. They beat the main bad guy only to learn that they still have someone else to fight.
True.
So
I can see that happening. But
we'll go into more talking about the next season real quick after we finish this.
We'll finish this and we'll go into some theories.
Because we also probably should kind of start getting ready to wrap up.
Yeah.
Because I think we've already gone for like almost an hour and a half. Theon gets the respect back from his men and goes to rescue Yara. It was one of those that kind of felt a little forced because it's one of those things. He gets beat up so much, and then the guy they do this kind of cheeky he kicks where Theon would have a crotch, and he's like, "Ha!
I don't
know
have
that's
it,
still
so
gonna hurt.
I know.
Even if you don't have balls."
But then I'm just gonna.
And then he just takes 2 punches, and the guy's dead.
Yeah, well, several punches. I think it was initially a headbutt.
It was a
And then
headbutt
he
right
gets
to his
full
nose.
mount
He
and
broke
just
his
starts
nose, and then he
laying
started
on
hitting
him.
him.
But you're right. Yeah, they played up that plot point that he doesn't have that, and even though it should.
It was a
hurt,
cute moment
it was
between him and Jon.
boom, 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 and then it was he realized,
him and Jon
you're
was
not
a
feeling
good
it.
moment though.
Yeah,
where they kind of tied things together and were like, "Hey, I can't forgive everything, but what I can't forgive, I do."
Right.
What I will say that I liked about Jon in this season and this episode is he said, "I know," he kind of brought up his dad, and he kind of said, "I know you would say this is what my dad did, but." And he said, and it could get me killed, but he's kind of going to these are the morals I was taught and that I live by.
True.
And it was if I say I'm gonna do something, I do it. If I make a promise, I do it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna go back.
Well, that propels this whole plot with the end of this finale here is because he refused to pledge to Cersei as well as to Daenerys. Because he didn't want to have to ride that line, so he's like, I'm already committed here. And then that's kind of almost what...
Ladies, get yourself with Jon Snow. He
Yeah.
commits and he stays with you.
He commits and he stays.
He's also good with his tongue, apparently.
And I would say, that's the reason for Ned dying in season 1, I think, is because Ned died in season 1 because it gave us not a perfect person, but, probably the best person. And then
it's
Jon
morally
is
sound person.
Jon is slowly becoming his dad.
But it is an interesting, parallel. You have Ned die because of his honor, and then you have Jon, who sticks with his honor, but is riding it to a lot farther. Continuous stuff.
Yeah. It's almost he's learning through the actions of what happened to Ned, but also trying to figure out how to navigate moving forward.
Yeah, and he's still sticking to
because Ned died for that honor. Jon, Jon's even died for that honor. He's betrayed for that. So now it's you're a man of your word. You want to stick to your word, but then at what point do you realize how far does that get you? You have to still navigate all these other outcomes and all these other obstacles.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see him tie that up with Theon, and then also kind of explain how he has to his thought processes behind his decision making moving forward.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tying up, we have Arya and Sansa coming in what a way seems to be like condemning Arya almost at first, and then
boom,
they turn it on Littlefinger, and for the first time, Littlefinger has no control over anything going on because he
talk his way out.
As much as some people probably hate him, he to this point has been maybe the most significant player in the game because he started everything.
Yeah, he set all the things in motion. Mm-hmm. But now, everybody became, Arya and Sansa became aware of his motive.
And then to jump a little bit, where Bran and Sam together reveal that that Robert's Rebellion is built on this lie that he kidnapped and raped Lyanna Stark.
Right.
And there's a big theory that Peter Baelish is the one who started that rumor. Whether or not he actually knew the actual thing, he knew it would cause conflict, and so he said
played
it
or
off.
Something like that.
So yeah, we have Littlefinger getting killed, and it again. That's honestly the only major death that we had this finale, especially compared to the last finale where we lost a bajillion people.
Bajillion and one actually.
Cleared
it brings Arya and Sansa and Bran all together. Kind of. It's like, hey, the Starks
are back.
Are actually a force to be you don't want to mess with them.
Finally,
one of them can see the past and what's going on and control animals and people. One of them is a faceless assassin who can do whatever she wants, and one of them's Sansa.
And then the other one's
who
King
finally has. As much as I hate her character, the fact that she basically defeats Littlefinger. Yeah, she's not the one who kills him, but she literally, to his face says, hey, I know it takes me a long time to learn things, but I do learn things. Thank you for your lessons. And then he has him get killed.
And I think that was actually a good moment to see for Sansa's character, because I've expressed a lot in the past, her and her mom I hated.
Yep.
They're so passive.
Yeah, and it's so annoying and
especially her. She's very often caught up in this
it's a very
girly
ideal
of what her world's gonna be.
Right, and Arya was the exact opposite.
So it was nice to finally see her grow a pair.
Yeah.
So yes, we have.
So now you have the Starks alone without any complications.
They're one of the most feared forces right now.
Yeah.
They're more feared force than the Lannisters almost.
Yeah, but they're the closest.
Well, because they have Daenerys.
They're the closest to the wall.
But really, they're
now,
only feared because they happen to be backing Daenerys.
Yeah.
Well, so
to talking about
Targaryens.
The wall.
Oh, I was gonna say Targaryens real quick. It's revealed Jon Snow is a Targaryen. His name is Aegon.
I thought it was Edgar.
He's gonna have a lot of egg on his face. No, I'm just kidding. I saw one of those.
But he has a better claim to the throne than Daenerys.
Right.
Which I thought that because obviously we put that together a couple episodes ago.
As an audience,
but I don't think that every single person watching did, and I thought they did a good job of using Bran's narration to spell it out in a way that didn't feel super expositional of hey, just in case you didn't figure out, this
John
is what this means.
Is this guy.
So it'll be interesting to see because clearly that's going to throw a wrench in their relationship, both physically and romantically, but also there's going to be a strain on their just the way that they're working together.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much, because I think...
It depends on how Jon reacts and how they both react. I think
Jon Snow's going to be like, I don't care if my name is different. I still support you.
She does. I think she'd care more than he would.
Actually, technically, he doesn't have a claim to the throne, if you really think about it. Aemon Targaryen gave up his claim to the throne when he became part of the Night's Watch, which means Jon Snow did the same thing.
Yeah, but he's gone back on everything.
But his watch is over, technically, so he has...
Yes, but you don't just suddenly get your claim back.
Yeah, but he knew he had a claim to begin with, though. But this all
I'm just saying that's a
propagates
potential
the idea
thought.
that even in season 8, that maybe even Jon and Daenerys could be foes at some point.
It's
regarding their struggle. If Daenerys is dead set on being the one after the Night Walkers are dealt with to be the one to claim the throne, and Jon has a more rightful heir to that.
Well, and we also get the question of because Tyrion brings it up at one point of, if you can't have kids, who's next? And the question is, does she go, okay, Jon's next, or was the witch lying and they can have kids after all?
But even John asked that, like he was like, or was it John?
Yeah,
Somebody
he said
asked,
something like,
"Who
"How
said
do
you can have
maybe she's not
kids?"
the most reliable source."
He's brought it up
Exactly.
twice to her
Right.
too.
Mhm. Yeah, that's your way of casually saying, "Let's have sex."
Yeah.
I hear I don't need to use protection on you. But yes,
Right,
you
don't
brought it
have
up.
kids, you can't have
We
kids.
get to the wall,
Yeah.
and they finally breach it. Viserion being ridden by the Night King, undead Viserion. We never actually said that he got brought back as a.
Yeah, we
he gets
kind of
brought back.
glossed over that. The Night King has dragon, guys.
He destroys the wall. Which does
Obliterates
beg a
it.
question: if they had never got a dragon, what was their plan for getting around the wall?
If they didn't have a dragon, right? Like, so yeah, that's a great question. Were they gonna still be able to go
And
through
so
it because of the issue with Bran, or?
And so that's the thing is maybe the Night King knows more than we think, and maybe
or maybe is there still a connection there?
because he clearly whatever connection he seems to have to the Three-Eyed Raven.
yeah, because he was aware of.
There's the part where
being
he's able to see. Yeah, he's able to
Yes,
see Bran
yes.
when Bran is there, and when all the ravens fly over, he looks up because he
And
knows
then
that
they
like
have
Bran
to,
is there.
yeah.
So it's like he has
He has
some kind
wherewithal.
of power or awareness. So it would not surprise me if he was aware that the dragons are around and basically tried to bait him out. Like
maybe.
I don't know.
He seemed to know
But-
exactly what he was doing when those dragons showed up.
We've
know?
never seen him with the spears. Well,
Yeah.
that's not true. We did see him with
We
spears.
did, but
at one point.
no one knew that they served that purpose, and the fact that there were 3 is also kind of interesting. Like, just because
It is also interesting that they only gave him the opportunity to throw. Do the other White Walkers not get a
they
chance
don't
to try to
have
throw?
that. They don't have the Olympic.
But yeah, so
stature.
show ends with, for the first time, the White Walkers, Undead Viserion, and the White Army
And the Ice
have
Dragon.
gone through Eastwatch. Technically, Barrack and Tormund's status is unknown.
Their
I think
fate's
that they
unknown.
were still on the part that didn't collapse because
Mhm.
there was a part of the castle that didn't, and based off the way the cinematography looked, it seemed like they were
Could
on the
have
part that
survived.
stayed.
True.
I feel like they wouldn't kill 2 characters that big and not really reference it at all like that though.
They
It's
killed-
all unknown.
Well,
but
I mean, they killed Stannis off screen.
It's true, but I feel like these 2 have been a little bit bigger.
I
I
think-
not. I just don't feel like they would do it like that.
I don't know how they would come back into the fight, but I think at the very least they can send a Raven a warning.
They would have.
But
to.
the question is, can get past the dragon?
Yeah. Dragon's like random
So-
Raven. I wonder.
By the
So,
way, there's a freaking
uh,
dragon. That the dead.
I guess
Night
very,
King
very
has.
briefly, let's quickly talk about the next season.
Yeah.
6 episodes. I've already kind of talked how I think it's more or less going to break
Not
down,
enough.
sort of. Because I think, yeah, there's no way that you don't defeat the Night King before Cersei at this point, because I don't know how else she ties in. You can't suddenly go back.
I can
or-
see that almost. I almost like in the first 3 episodes, I see her maybe being a background character,
just trying to.
just
Do
trying
some
to like
shit.
let it play out, and then
Taking over.
while she's like plotting her next move. You know,
Mhm.
I could totally see that.
She could just.
Jamie is still going to kill her.
You think so?
I'm calling that.
Is that
for
what
sure.
you're
Yeah,
saying?
I think that'll happen.
That's what I had initially thought, but
I will tell you, a lot of people are gonna die.
Oh yeah.
A
Definitely.
lot of people we like.
I as
imagine,
much as I hate to admit it, I think either Dan or John,
I was-
Danny or John is going to die.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I'd agree. One of them.
And as much as we hate to say it, it might be Danny, just because we've set up this whole, hey, there is someone else who could, another Targaryen who could still take the throne.
Yeah.
Tyrion might die.
I
I
thought
could
there was
see
a
it.
legit shot he was gonna die last night.
Yeah, I think he's more.
Jorah, Davos.
There's a lot.
I don't know where
major
Gendry is
players.
at this moment. I don't think we saw him after he collapsed and sent the.
We didn't. I don't think we did see him.
I think he went with them back, but we didn't really see him after
he
that.
wasn't featured.
Him and Arya might end up being a thing because they're all going to Winterfell.
Yeah. So I definitely think. I would say half, if not more than half, the people die, main character wise.
I could see Sansa dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does seem like there's too many Starks still, sort of.
I
I know.
I wonder if maybe in the end the way they beat the Night King is Bran in some way has to sacrifice himself to do it.
Maybe. It depends on if that theory actually plays out, and if they are connected to some degree, then Bran would have to sacrifice himself in some manner.
I could see Bran taking over
to-
one
Yeah,
of Daenerys' dragons.
To very briefly go...
There was a theory that could take over Viserion.
Well, so, because I think originally when there was 3 of them, it was, Jon's going to ride one, Dany's going to ride one, and maybe he wargs into the other. But now there's only 2, it seems a little bit like, I don't know.
Like, how does that work?
To kind of break down that really quickly at this base level, the whole theory of the Night King being Bran is he like tries to stop the White Walkers, unknowingly gets turned into one like himself, and then Bran from the future is like trying to control and kill himself in the past to stop that from ever happening. Is kind of like the way it works, and that's why he's I don't believe it personally.
That could. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of... There's something there. I gotta imagine there's something there with
I think
how
there's some sort of
Night
connection,
King...
but I don't think it's an evil version of him.
I think it's more... It's not Bran in and of himself. It's the three-eyed raven.
Being connected.
And the fact that he happens to be
the Night King,
yeah.
That I agree with.
So
who gets the throne? Predictions.
I mean, I think the way that I would prefer it would be Daenerys and Jon together.
Yeah.
But I said I think at least one of them dies, and as much as I hate to admit it, I think Jon is more likely to live than her at this point. But I guess he could also sacrifice himself, and so it could be a bittersweet of she does take it, but she's lost like everybody she loves. She's lost Jon. She probably loses George, and maybe she loses Tyrion. Like,
could you lose another dragon?
Yeah. The bittersweet thing could literally be, okay, you got it, but at what cost? You literally lost.
She might not
everybody.
have any dragons at this point, because there's another dragon that's not hers now that she has to deal with.
I definitely at least one more dragon dies.
At least, I could definitely see that. Yeah.
Probably fighting the other dragon.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how that plays.
It'll be interesting to see how they have to kill it, because I don't know that the other dragon is necessarily going to be any more susceptible to fire. Yeah,
because I read a theory that the ice dragon is actually more powerful.
It seemed to
than
actually breathe fire to me, not...
Yeah,
well, not ice, but it
was like a blue fire.
It was different, though.
Yeah. I expected it to be more ice, is what I'm saying.
So, but that's another interesting point. How do you kill that dragon?
I have no idea.
Dragon glass?
Valerian still probably,
yeah. Yeah, but then you need a big...
You can do fucking walk up to it and just poke it.
What if part of what it is they have to do something like melt down some of the Valerian steel
and
swords we see and create one of the scorpion bolts out of Valerian steel?
Maybe.
Or ride on a dragon.
Because again, we've got Gendry, a smith, who's the only reason he has to come in, to me, is so that he can be creating obsidian weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
We also may or may not see Melisandre again. She went off to Volantis, but she made it seem like she'd come back at some point.
What's Volantis?
A city in Essos.
Yeah,
it was kind of interesting, her exit. It was like, because, she also kind of brought everybody together.
She specifically says, I brought ice and fire together. Bye!
But then nothing else. So there has to be some sort of, I would imagine there has to be a follow-up to that.
Yeah.
But then to what degree and what role does she play?
Any other thoughts for Season 8?
I just think it's going to be...
Arya. I think Arya's going to do something crazy. She might even take over the throne. Or she might be the one to kill Cersei. But that doesn't make sense because of the prophecy, though. I've heard some
theory. There is a way to make the prophecy make sense. If either Tyrion or Jaime dies, she could take their face.
That's right, yeah.
In Cersei's eyes, she could be getting killed by her little brother, even though it actually is Arya. And so in that case, the prophecy would still be true.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. But then, I don't...
Also, I don't know that it ever specifically says her little brother.
It just says little brother.
Little brother.
That's true. A friend of mine that I was talking to just brought that up. It was like...
And technically...
It could be a bunch
of... is a little brother in terms of the Targaryens.
And so is... There's several other characters that kind of also fit that. So...
Who knows?
Yeah.
I think it makes the most sense that it be Jaime, but...
Or even just straight up Tyrion.
I just see Arya getting somebody's face and then just...
I'm kind of excited to see what they do with Arya at this point.
It does seem like she has to stay in the human fight, because I don't know how her skills translate over to fighting undead.
They wouldn't, but yeah.
That's why I think she almost has to. And so this is the only other prediction I kind of have of episode 8 is, in a bittersweet moment for the fans, we see Winterfell fall. I think the battle part, maybe it's like one episode of preparing.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 2 and 3 are like fighting White Walkers, because I think 2 almost is like they fight and they lose and have to no choice but to pull back. Maybe you have like again. The problem is there's only 6 episodes, so it's hard to figure out how it goes. Yeah. But I think then in like a second attack or whatever, they're able to stop them or something. Maybe or regroup in that episode 4. They finally beat them and 5, 6,
but
whatever
then you have
they
to
fight.
deal with the throne.
So I don't know exactly, obviously, the breakdown, but I think there's at least more than one fight.
So you think the White Walkers are dealt with prior to the throne being dealt with?
I think it has to be. Yeah. Especially now that they're on this side of the wall, like you don't have that much time.
The only way it doesn't is if when Jaime comes and tells him, hey, she's betrayed it, if someone like Arya goes back in a separate plot line where they kind of kill her in secret and take control of her forces and bring them up to help. That's the only way I see it not happening in my original thought.
I just got a crazy idea. What if Arya is the one that kills Cersei, but then steals her face and assumes the throne, and then something, and then they're trying to,
and then she gets killed because they don't know it's Arya.
Yeah.
Do you just think you can
actually
totally
that is the one thing I've thought is like, what are the chances of Arya getting killed because she takes someone else's face and they think and like she gets killed by like Sansa or something because they don't know it's her.
Yeah, maybe. It depends on how those roles situate themselves.
And it's one of those things like she falls down or something and manages to like start pulling the face off, and so it's like she lays there and they like pull it off and like, oh god, what have I done?
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I think honestly, like as much as I like Arya, I almost think that might happen.
That's why I brought it up. I think something could happen, but then if she does do that, and then another character kills her, thinking that she's somebody else, that could be a huge plot twist moving forward. Betweening, depending on the stakes that that situation kind of sets forth. But I don't know. There's a lot of different possibilities here.
Intenseness, man.
Yeah. And Cersei, we still have to deal with her.
I just can't believe
she was gonna make it out of the season,
we gotta wait this long, though. Yeah. Because didn't you say almost maybe till 2019?
That's what he said.
Yeah, I read a GQ article. Spring of 2019. Hopefully not, though, but we'll see.
We'll see.
It really just depends.
Like I said, I think my overall impression of this season was it didn't feel like a complete season, because I don't think it is. I think the complete season comes when we get the next season, and the two of them are considered
one together. Season, yeah. I enjoyed the season, but like you guys said, it's all setting up towards the Great War. So.
And as much as the smaller episodes being able to get more budget each, the fewer episodes, means that you have to unfortunately make some of the writing quicker and some of the plot lines quicker.
Right. And that's where the timelines get a little funky, but I don't think it subtracts from the overall story in any way. So
for me, it didn't. I mean, it was noticeable.
Honestly, I think now to one thing that could have fixed, I think, for a lot of people, the whole. I heard that. The whole Beyond the Wall timeline would just have been to have Daenerys say, "Okay, I'm going to go help them," and she just happens to be flying and seeing Gendry like running back, and so she comes down like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he tells her where to go. Yeah, that I think would have solved the issue for a lot of people.
Yeah,
and it might have been an easier way to do it, but whatever.
But probably not a huge issue.
All right. Anything else you guys think we need to say before we wrap this up?
I'm Team Stark, and Snow's actually Targaryen. Is he still on my team?
Nope. He's on my team.
That's true. He's not a Stark.
So I lost my
I
lost my QB.
Well, to go with that, I think we actually, Theon and John's talk about whether or not you're a Greyjoy, but you're also a Stark. I think that's really what's going to come up is you're a Targaryen, but you're also a Stark. It's going to come up being a thing.
No, that's a great point, because it's like you're still both because you were raised this way, even though you're by blood the other way. You're still both.
And like I said, even though he's got a better claim to the throne, I really don't see any stretch of the imagination where he goes, I want the throne.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think he ever
even if he ends up on it, it's going to be reluctant because like Dany dies or something.
Or because like people place him on the throne.
Yeah,
he's all that's left. You know what I mean? Kind of like how he came to King Winterfell. Like,
I did say
it would be resolution for Ned not getting
to get back to tie up one thing that I brought up and didn't ever tie together. Where I said you said that Bran was keeping that information to himself, and the reason I think it is, and he's not telling a bunch of people, is because you saw how much contention was brought up when he even said Daenerys, I'm going to her to help. And they said, you can't trust a Targaryen.
True.
So if Bran goes, hey, by the way, Jon's a Targaryen, like, suddenly they're going to be like,
revolt.
okay,
It's a
what is it?
revolt.
They're, like, Targaryen blood. I'm not sure that I want to back him. Like,
yeah.
I think
they backed him as a bastard.
Yeah, but they didn't know that he was of the Mad King's bloodline.
The Stark's bastard.
I think
allegedly.
learning that he is a Targaryen is going to cause contention amongst his men, especially since he's been gone so far.
I agree.
That was the only thing I meant to tie together that I did.
So who reveals it? Bran's the only one that
I think Bran's going to tell... Well, Bran and Sam know it.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna tell him when he gets there, and it's gonna be awkward.
Yeah. And then how does he respond, or how does he even bring that up with Dany?
It also might be one of those things where he goes,
"Whatever.
What you say, like, no, my name is Jon. I'm a Stark.
I am who I am.
I don't know.
Yeah. Wow, a lot of theories, a lot more to be explored. So
yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about season 8 the closer we get to it.
Oh yeah.
But
so
cool.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, I think this is definitely our longest episode.
Our Game of Thrones ones tend to be the longest.
Always.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, everybody.
Next time.
Stay classy.
We'll see you.